Sometime late last year, I ordered the BLF GT, understanding a couple of things. First, ultra throwers are not a flashlight I really have a chance to appreciate. Second, I really don't need another flashlight, so naturally, it was a pretty easy purchase. Really, I bought it just to support the light modding and designing community over at Budget Light forums. Some members over there choose to work with manufacturers. Not forced to, maybe because they enjoy talking to concrete walls, or could be they're making up for being a dick most of the time. But the good news is they work with them to make the sorts of lights nerds like. The GT is an extremely overbuilt torch, with one thing in mind other than selling you a fourth flashlight this month, and that's to throw a beam of light really far. Just because light is bright or expensive doesn't mean its beam goes far. Of course, unless it's a surefire, those are worth every penny. Not only do their flashlights never break, they also have a great warranty when they do. I know it's hard, but only one of those statements can be true, even if you paid $300 for it. Thrower flashlights, though, have to combine optics or reflectors and specific types of LEDs to make the beam travel far, instead of just scatter into the dark. If you remember my Lance of Ra video about a year and a half ago, these sorts of specialty lights are pretty large and only become useful at distances where spotting scopes are necessary. Or if you're the majority of people who bought this, maybe from your couch to the wall, across the room.
Hey, my apartment's pretty spacious.
However, I do appreciate the occasional comment on the thrower videos where someone says, it'd be nice if you found a place with no light you could really test it out at. Sure, I, like most people, have access to large unlit areas with man-made structures thousands of feet away with no ambient light. I guess if I lived out west, these would be better. But on the East Coast, I'd have to drive about an hour to the mountains to find a place, and I really don't have that kind of time. I know it's hard to believe that YouTube isn't my full-time job. A guy on my AceBeam X70 video said I should whine more, so, maybe it'll be a New Year's resolution. So the BLF GT is a big-ass light that uses a neutral white Cree XHP 35 high-intensity, or HI, emitter, and 18650 lithium-ion rechargeable batteries. You can get a small optional tube for a slightly less bulky carry and only 4 batteries, or get the LED in a cool white version. I want to say there's also an 8000 lumen version that is overall brighter, but doesn't have quite the beam distance. You'll have to look it up. Remember, I don't have that kind of time. The one I reviewed here is the neutral white standard version, and mine was among the first 500 produced, so I only paid $119 for it before batteries. I'm not bragging, but there may have been some tweaks in the year since I bought it, other than the tweak and increasing the price. Let's take a look at the output settings and see what I measured, unless you got something else to do. I knew you didn't. First, moonlight mode. A little brighter than I'd like. Who am I kidding, though? 5 pounds. It's the size of my femur with leg meat on it. Then next, variable output, which has discrete steps spaced so close together it looks like analog rather than digital. Now we'll go to 100%. Of note, I've seen people report as little as 800,000 candela and as high as 1,290,000 candela for beam intensity on 100%. So keep that in mind. I maybe have even seen higher than 1,290,000. But for me, it's my second throwiest light after my Lance of Ra. Okay, how does it operate? Or how about you read the goddamn manual yourself? The user interface is designed to be easy to figure out, much like, is 8 beers too many or should I just stop at 7? I know the answer. First, put in the batteries. Note that the battery carriers have polarity arrows. The arrow points toward the lens, which is the way the carrier should be oriented. And make sure all batteries are placed correctly inside each of the 2 carriers. There's a lot of stuff to remember here. I used Samsung unprotected button top 30Q batteries, which are probably a little overkill. They're a sexy 66.5 millimeters long, and I've tried protected cells up to 68.5 millimeters. Flat top batteries cannot be used due to the design of the battery carriers. Okay, so when you have the battery carriers in, screw on the back. You might also appreciate the fine machining and the ease at which the tail cap turns, because if you're buying this light, let's be honest, unlike most normal people, you probably have a strong opinion about machining. A few blinks means it's ready to go. Shortcuts first. Press and hold for moonlight. Release quickly so it doesn't scale up the brightness though. Single presses turn it on and off. Now, a double click for 100% output. Cool. Turn it off. By default, Moon and 100% are never saved into mode memory because you access them through shortcuts. 100% can be accessed while the light is on or off on any mode. I mean on any mode, not off on any mode. I'm trying to make these more confusing. But basically you double click at any time. Moon can only be accessed when off, or You remember that one time when you were really high that you did it. Okay, so click to turn it off. Press and hold to go up the brightness scale when it reaches the top. Then release and press and hold to go back down. The top of the brightness scale isn't as bright as turbo. To go the opposite way on the brightness scale, as you're moving up, release and quickly press it again to go back down. If you release the button for more than 1 second as you're going up or down the scale, it continues the way you were originally going. Less than 1 second, it goes the opposite way. And yeah, it has a few fucking strobes, okay? You'll need to be in 100% mode to find it. Double click. Oh, look, you're in 100%. Double click again to get to this one strobe here. And then double click again to get to this other strobe here. The user interface has possibilities to make it configured to be like a regular flashlight, like, you know, low, mid, high type stuff. However, I don't see why a sane person used to the more intuitive scaling brightness would use this, but I'm sure there's one. Just read far enough in the comments. There's a dude down there, I'm sure. Also, the manual's online that shows you and bores you almost as much as I could about all the ways it's configurable. However, I value your and my time a little, so I'll spare you. I mean, if I really valued it, you wouldn't be watching a video. Also note on the underside, there is a standard tripod mount like any photo tripod has. In fact, deep within the programming mode, you can turn it into a camera. If you can't figure it out, though, it means you're an idiot. The tripod mount has a plug that you could, I guess, has a little loop thing there. You could lanyardize it. If I could change one thing about it, would be the UI, and then the brightness scale moved a little slower. The button has a very dim green LED. You can switch off by the menu. It glows a dim green when the light is off by default. Very hard to see in the light, which means it's perfect. Too often the LED lights under backlit switches are bright enough to be used as their own lights. So if you have a flashlight that the backlit button when it's off is lower than the moonlight, it defeats the purpose. Not cool and not tactical. Run times, for this I used about 3 minutes of your time. Samsung 30Qs and tested 100%. Oh, you know, another mode a little under 1,000 lumens to give you a basic idea of the kind of run times you can expect on higher brightness levels. I stuck with the factory configuration because I'm not that kind of guy, but you can change step downs, thermal regulation, and more that would affect run times in the menu. So knock yourself out. 100%. We start out at 2,293 lumens and it begins dropping. 5 minutes in, we're still at about 2,200 lumens with the 3% overall drop in brightness. 10 minutes in, we're just under 2,200 lumens. 30 minutes in, we're still over 2,000 lumens. 1 hour in, we're about 2,026 lumens, or a little over 10% of a drop. 2 hours, 1,756 lumens. 3 hours, 1,167 lumens. I'm losing myself. And at 3 hours, 55 minutes in, we hit emergency light, and maybe some brief self-reflection on how we choose to spend our time. And then at 11 hours and 34 minutes, I stopped the test with emergency light. Coming out, assume that it's around the moonlight mode level. Okay, one more. You're still around at this point, so you know why the hell not. I measured this mode to start out at 973 lumens, a little under 50% of overall brightness. We'll make this go quick. You'll notice the light meter moves slightly in the first 10 minutes, which explains the 1 point difference, but I assume it stays continuous for at least 10 hours, and if you ignore that, the cricket crawls around in my furnace room at 11 hours. The light is moonlight level. I ended the test in this moonlight mode at about 19 hours in because that's where we're at in YouTube product review video production. Beam shots. This section will be a little more informative than usual. Okay, no it won't. I shot some of this summer at the same place where I shot the Lance of Raw review. However, we're going to start out in the backyard though with my 4 ultra range throwers. First is the BLF GT, fairly tight hotspot. It isn't super bright, but at close ranges there is enough spill to light the ground right around you, but most light is concentrated in the hotspot. Now there is spill here, you can see it without the camera, but it just doesn't show up well on video because it's so dim. It's a high contrast beam pattern. Real bright in the center, real dim around the center. Now the Ace Beam K70, less throwaway, is evidenced by the larger, less intense, sort of diffused hotspot, a little more of a practical light in terms of closer distances, and just being, overall easier to hold. The BLF GT is such a large, bulky light. It's not one you take on walks, of course, unless you're trying to convince yourself, yeah, I could get used to this, when you really shouldn't have spent the money. If it had a handle, or maybe you just didn't own it, that would make it easier. I like the tint of the BLF GT. It's not as perfect neutral white, more of a slightly off-white creamy tint, like Miracle Whip with the tiniest amount of blood in. Now the Storm of Ra, huge intense hotspot, third throwiest light that I own and here. It's large but has a handle, much brighter than the rest too. Cool user interface, however runtimes are short and limited by the 2 cells. Now the Lance of Ra, my throwiest light by far, and maybe one of the top 2 or 3 throwiest lights ever made. Not considering hand-built ones. I know there's the chart over on Candle Power forums. Surely one of the cheapest and easiest to hold. However, this light is no longer produced, unless you write a love letter to Silent Thunder Ordnance asking them to make one and give them $10,000. I'm sure they do it for you. Okay, to the beach. Should I be doing this legally? I guess probably. However, is it annoying to people on the other end? Absolutely. Not as annoying as the guy showing up in the comments asking me to have found a better place to film this with less ambient light. Gotta get that whining in. I'll aim it at a few places on the beach. When I shot this, I didn't know how far away these buildings were at the time, but that's what Google Earth is for. We're doing a wide shot first to give you an idea of the distance. My 10.5mm lens, which I guess equates to about 25, 26 millimeters in real world 35mm lens terms. That building that I'm shining things on is about 6,900 feet away. I didn't choose the distance, it chose me. I'll be honest, this range is a little too far, but as you can see, there is some light on the building. I'm going to put a black screen in here between the two, and then I'm going to do a split screen later. Now the Lance just lights up portions of the building. I'm using a 50mm lens now. I don't have any faster, longer focal length lenses, sorry. The BLF GT hits a wider portion of the building. It's not a pinpoint accurate like the Lance is. Note how the handshake is very apparent without a tripod stabilizing light. I had to put all these in a single backpack and carry another tripod so I didn't have room for a second. The Acebeam K70 catches more of the plants on the foreground, so it kind of washes some things out. A lot more spill light for walking. And here's a split screen showing 3 lights together with a screen of black, although I found it was more useful to throw in an unlit frame when I was doing the beam shots earlier, so that's why I did it that way, since the light hitting the building was so dim. Really at the distance, they are all kind of similar, kind of dim, some with more spill than others. The light hitting the foreground on the Acebeam is kind of distracting though. Wish I had a longer, more sensitive lens. Now let's look at them at about 14,000 feet. At this building, looks to me like they all 3 are useless at this point. Now if I had a longer lens and there was no ambient light, maybe we could see a difference. However, it was useful to look at the atmosphere and seeing how far the beams appear to go with the, humidity in the air. The Lance travels furthest, still doesn't light up the building. The GT goes second furthest and has a tighter beam for longer than the Acebeam K70. Roughly speaking and rounding heavily, the GT is twice as throwy as the Acebeam, and the Lance is twice as throwy as the GT. Here's that water tower. When shooting this, the camera flaked out. My Blackmagic has been dying a slow death for a few years now, so I only had 2 to 15 minutes of shooting per battery. You only find out when the battery just goes dark. My point being is I didn't know what I was getting on my footage until I got home and had to color correct, which you have to on all Blackmagic footage. The Blackmagic being the camera. Shooting some B-roll these past few days, looks like I need a new camera too. YouTuber problems. Now if I had to make a broad statement while wrapping it up about the GT in relation to the Lance of Ra and the Acebeam K70, it's that it's a middle of the road light between the two in performance. At least throw performance. However, it is limited by its sheer bulk. It's extremely well built, has a great user interface, tint, and performance, but you need good conditions to appreciate it. Clear air, unlit structures in the distance, and strong arms. In other words, nothing seen in this video. Sorry dudes, life's a disappointment. The light was built to serve as a host too. The BLF GT has so much aluminum that can be pushed and further turbocharged and modded. I'm not really into that, but I do like supporting projects like this, so people can do that. Flashlights that push the boundaries of usefulness. So if you like this sort of review, subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, comment, check out my average photos on Instagram, donate to my Patreon thing like it's your New Year's resolution. Thanks for watching.